So let's get started real quick, because we only have a short amount of time. How did you guys get involved in this project, and what drew you to these roles?
I was approached in 2011. It's funny, I just started having movies come out for the first time, and I was approached at the Golden Globes, I think, asked, hey, do you want to play Tammy Wynette? And I was like, yeah, sure. I mean, I didn't really know anything about Tammy, except I knew her music, some of it. But then that started a many-year journey. I think it was a decade, 11 years before we started shooting. So yeah, that's the beginning of it.
Why so long? Why did it take so long?
There were many iterations of it, and it was going to be a film for a while. But there's so much story to be told. It doesn't make. I mean, it always felt really rushed to try to fit it all in 2 hours. There's so much music. Their music's incredible, and it just made sense as a miniseries. And I didn't even think about it in that way until Abe Sylvia, who wrote it, called me up at the beginning of the pandemic and said, I have an idea to tell the story as a 6-part series. Would you want to do that? It's like, yeah. There's enough story there for 6 hours, yeah.
How did you get drawn into George?
Oh, she asked me to do it because she was looking for a fella to do it. And we did Take Shelter, this movie Take Shelter, probably right around the time that this came to you, then. Mm-hmm. Just before that, we did Take Shelter.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So, yeah, and I was a little nervous about it because I didn't really think I looked much like George, or I'm taller than he was. So I was a little self-conscious about it, but I do love music, and I started listening to his music, and his voice just blew me away, you know, and then I started reading about him, and he seemed like a very complex person, so I dove into it.
So were you familiar before, or did you start reading about him when you...
No, I mean, for me, the length of my familiarity with George before this was, I was like, oh, I think I saw that guy on Hee Haw when I was a kid. Like, that was it. I didn't really know much about him at all. So I had a lot of work to do.
So what is the preparation for both of you to get into the role of these beloved, iconic country music stars? Is there a lot of pressure in that?
Ton. Yeah. I mean, a ton. I read every book I could find. I spent hours watching YouTube, and there were certain interviews that I latched onto, and I would record as, you know, almost like I could listen to it like a monologue. Her talking about growing up and, you know, her life and the way she laughed and the certain words she would mix up or mix around. And yeah, it's all encompassing, and especially being attached to a project for so long. I'm not the person who kind of waits, you know, be like, oh, okay, it's going to start next month. As soon as I attach myself to something, I start working on it, because that's a lot of the fun for me, is learning about something I don't know, and then I can really be on set and kind of just be free, because I don't have to feel like I'm trying to play catch up.
So is the pressure to do a living icon as opposed to a fictional character that you guys have done in past movies, is there a difference in preparation, or is there a difference in the pressure?
There was more pressure for me on this. I mean, Stand By Your Man is like, it's a big deal. And I think the last time I was so, oh God, I get just nervous anxiety just even talking about this. But the last time I sang it, because we revisit songs in our series, which I find very interesting, because it's the whole, like, what's the story about what's happening to this person through the music at this moment in time. And the last time I sang Stand By Your Man in front of 100 extras and all this stuff in Vegas or whatever, I finished and I went home and I said, that is the last time I will ever have to sing that song. I was telling everyone, I'm so sick, I'm tired of, because it was in my head so much. And then, of course, in the car ride home, I was singing it by myself because I love it.
So there's no karaoke in your future with Stand By Your Man?
Oh no, it might come out sometime. Sure. If there's bourbon involved, I'm sure it'll come out.
So you both sang in this, and obviously you sang in Tammy Faye.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, you're in a band, so you sing. So was it still intimidating to sing as George and Tammy?
Yeah, I mean, George is widely considered one of the great American singers of all time. So, yeah, I don't think anybody can really sing like George Jones. And that's what, you hear about, like when people come to Nashville and they have raw talent and they can sing and they run into a producer and they're like, I hear you singing like Hank Williams, and that's all fine and good, but you need to go out and you need to figure out how to sing like yourself. You need to figure out how to sing in a way that nobody else could possibly ever sing except you. So then I'm stuck with the responsibility of trying to sing like the guy who went out and figured out how to sing that way. But fortunately we had an amazing coach, Ron Browning, who lives here in Nashville. And he got into it with us right away, months before we even started shooting, to help us feel comfortable with all that.
And also I think, I was helped very early on by someone saying to me, listen, she's got one of the greatest voices in music history. The way she sounds, it's like this wail of like this, sadness and passion, and it's this depth of feeling that is so incredible. I'm not going to sound like that. And if the goal was that, I would just lip sync because it's an impossible thing to do. And I was told very early on by Abe Sylvia, he's like, that's not our goal, because if so, we would just have you lip sync. The goal is storytelling through the music. And that actually helped me relax more.
So you had said after Tammy Faye, or during the press tour with Tammy Faye, that you'd rather do nudity than sing again on camera. But here we are.
Oh, and not only now, I'm like in front of all these extras.
Does it get easier?
Never. Nope. Never. I don't know what it is. I just get super scared. I remember the very first time I sang with a band, my whole body was shaking. I understand why people drink alcohol. That's a real thing. I took advantage, and I had medicinal tea. That's what I would like. It'd be 10 a.m. You're like, can I get a medicinal tea, please? I gotta sing this song. So, no, it just has not gotten easier for me.
Will you do it again?
Yeah. I like to do things that are impossible.
Do you guys have a favorite George and Tammy song?
You should do Pat Benatar.
Love.
There you go. Favorite George and Tammy song?
Or a George song, or a Tammy song, or something that you like.
Hold On was so fun to sing together.
Yeah, that song. So that long oh God.
But we also learned to do it by patty caking.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. I also like Two Story House, but I like it in the context of the show because
I like that
what
one.
they're going through.
Well, I like the fact that Tammy wrote it.
Yeah.
I believe that's the only one of their duets she wrote.
Tammy wrote more music, but that was.
But more duets for them?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think that's really special. Because it's nice, because a lot of times they don't write the songs and then they sing them and people think, oh, this is their life or whatever, but it's like something George Ritchie wrote or something. But that Two-Story House is like Tammy really laying it on the line,
Mm-hmm.
So this movie is based off Georgette's book. Was she involved in the production? What about Nancy, George's wife? Was she involved as well?
No, Georgette was involved. We met with Peanut and Charlene, Jan and Nan. All the people, the regular players around George and Tammy. There were so many people that were interviewed. It was a very interesting thing to work on because, as you had said earlier, there's so many versions of this story. And I feel a little bit like both of these people were kind of co-opt towards, the end. And it was interesting for me to kind of read everything I could about them and watch all their videos and try to figure out, okay, well, what is what could be the story that is underneath the surface.
So what do you want viewers to take from this when they watch the movie? What do you want them to
Well, you know, I always struggle answering that question. I mean, I think it'll be interesting for people that are huge fans of George and/or Tammy. I think it hopefully will be also interesting to people like me who didn't really know much about it to begin with. You know, I'm sure some people will be like, "Well, it didn't happen like that," or whatever. You know, there's always naysayers, but I don't know. I think the relationship is truly unique. You know, that those two had with one another. Just one of the most, romantic relationships I've ever encountered. So hopefully that'll, be moving for people. Yeah.
Sure will. Thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate it.
you.
Thanks for
Thank
taking
you.
the time.